The Africa Tech Summit celebrated its sold-out 8th edition at the prestigious London Stock Exchange on the 7th of June. The event brought together leading industry experts and innovators to explore the latest trends and insights in technology and business across Africa and beyond. Let's take a look and listen for Charlie Bird, who's the FX trader at Vertos, and others.
Vertos is a cross-border B2B payments platform. We're present in 49 different countries, but we have a very specific focus, largely in African corridors. So Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, that's kind of our remit. Now, I'm very aware, obviously, at today's summit, we're going to have quite a few people who are completely up to speed with how fintechs work, how they came about. Many of you probably work for a fintech or invested in fintech. But we're just going to do a quick whistle-stop tour of sort of how we got here when it comes to the fintech industry. And then as we move towards sort of FX and payments a bit more, discuss the challenges the businesses have on a day-to-day when trying to repatriate funds or whatever it may be, do payments, because there's a lot of focus that fintechs have on their own product and other areas, but sometimes it's easy to forget what is the need of the actual business. So when we think about fintechs, so prior to the fintech industry really booming, clearly we had our traditional bank systems. You had a bricks and mortar bank down the road where you would collect your funds, you'd make payments from. In the FX world, you might get them to do the foreign exchange for you. You might look to get a loan. You might look to do some advanced credit to somebody. And this was the setup. If it was 4 p.m. on a Friday, there's no way you're going to be paying anybody any money because obviously you're done for the weekend, and there's a business that can be incredibly frustrating. Now, in recent years, obviously the fintech industry has boomed, but why has it boomed? What's been the selling point for fintechs? We've got that 24/7 access to our money. Ultimately, in my mind, that's the big deal. It's not a case of you got to wait for the bank to open or make sure the bank hasn't shut yet. You can go online, you can go on an app, you can get access to your funds, you can move it whatever you want. It's low touch, you don't need to speak to anyone on the phone. That's where it all comes from. It's the speed, it's the access. That, in my mind, has always been the lifeblood of this industry. It doesn't matter if you're involved in crypto, or if you're involved in hard currency, involved in Africa, Asia, it doesn't matter. That whole infrastructure, that's the selling point. It's the speed and access. As we go over towards FX, like I said, with a lot of banks, you'd have to make a manual instruction. You'd have to ask somebody at the bank, please convert my rate, my currency from one to another. They would give you a rate that may be plucked out of the air, well, as it seems to you as the client. It would take a long time to get settled. You'd have to have bits of paper passed between people at the bank, maybe some favors given in order to get that money moving. And it's incredibly frustrating as a business. But when we look at examples like Revolut and G10 or Verto in places like Africa, we've really leveraged this idea of speed of settlement when it comes to doing foreign exchange. Now, the explosion in mobile technology within Africa has been massive. I mean, when we look at places like Nigeria, very reliant on BDCs to source dollars when trying to exchange from Naira. If you look at Kenya, similarly, you'd have to go to the bank to source your dollars. Mobile technology has moved the game on quite a lot for fintechs. And it's something which, if you have like a super slick, optimized like UX, user interface, a really strong product, suddenly it becomes a much more viable option than having to go to your bank or perhaps a local BDC. So as I mentioned, what are the challenges with a bank? What are the challenges for businesses today when they're trying to move money, when they're trying to do exchanges? A lot of fintechs, as I mentioned, focus a lot on products. I've spoken to a lot of people today who work at fintechs who have entire development teams based in Eastern Europe or in Asia. We at Verto, we have a massive dev team in India who do all of our constant product development, optimizing the product, making sure we're giving the right service to our client, the speed and the platform, etc. And there's a lot of investment goes into compliance as well, because especially in Africa, you want to make sure that where the funds are being sourced, where they're going to, making sure that it's all completely compliant, there's no money laundering or any liability involved in any party or for the fintech yourself. And that tends to be the crux. It's how good is my product, how good is our compliance. But on a day-to-day basis, when I'm trading FX, because we have a platform which is a self-serve platform, but I still speak to a lot of our multinational clients a lot. Some of them want the best FX rate, of course. They want to get a good price. And I speak to a lot of CFOs. They fancy themselves as a bit of a trader, a bit of a gambler, and they want to make sure they get a good price. But ultimately, a lot of these people I speak to today, they just want their dollars. They want to sell their local currency that they have in Kenya, they have in Tanzania, in Nigeria, this money that they've accumulated through conducting business, and they just want to source their dollars and get dollars into their bank account. It's a liquidity thing. A lot of time it seems like fintechs are so focused on making sure that the product has a lovely wireframe, it's been developed, it's been troubleshooted, all the bugs have been ironed out, but we forget what is the core need of our clients. And fintechs have gone from strength to strength now. Like, we're respected as much as we are banks. And these clients, they want that solution. They want that concrete liquidity solution that can be supplied to them 24/7 and instantly. Now, when it comes to actually owning a business, I actually started my own business about 5 years ago. It was an indoor cycling studio, which I know is probably kind of hard to believe, but genuinely that happened. And I remember there was so much I had to worry about. Now, I wasn't doing international payments. I wasn't making big payments cross borders. I wasn't having to pay big suppliers on a regular basis in the UK. But I know for a fact there were so many things that I had to think about as the founder, as the owner of this company. The last thing I wanted to worry about is my money going where it needs to? Am I getting the right exchange rate? Fintechs are there to almost be invisible. You just want that certainty as a business owner that you don't have to worry about your money being moved across borders. In the old system of having to submit manual instructions where it could take 3 days to get your money, or you didn't know what the exchange rate was going to be, it just became a constant headache. And I speak to people all the time on the phone who are business owners in a similar position as I used to be, and they're saying to me, like, I need my money because I need to release a shipping container. It's very easy to forget that as a fintech. Like, we try and make nice colors and make the product lovely, but you forget there is a real world business going here where they need the money to move their products or conduct their services. It's something which they shouldn't have to worry about. And that needs to be the focus for a lot of fintechs going forward. Now, obviously in my world, I'm looking at FX volatility a lot. Now, clearly in developed markets, we do get a bit of volatility. If like the ECB cuts 25 basis points like they did earlier this week, then you do start to see a bit of volatility across G10 markets. But clearly it's nothing compared to somewhere like Africa. If you look at Nigeria at the moment, you're talking maybe 5% swings in the day. You look at Egypt, just devalued their currency, and when was that, a couple of months ago? It's incredibly hard to predict. And again, as a business owner, how do you mitigate? How do you ease this FX risk? How do you hedge for the future? Like, obviously in commodities world, if you grow corn or something, you can buy corn futures for 6 months down the line. So you're hedging your yield on your corn crop that year. In FX, especially in Africa, it's incredibly difficult. How do you mitigate the risk of Tanzanian shilling moving 10% in 3 months' time? Like, how are you meant to do that business forecast? Now, there are some products out there. Clearly, we have non-deliverable forwards. So for those of you that don't know, if you work in an institution, a lot of pension funds or hedge funds will use these products to speculate on an economy. It's a contract for difference. I mean, like to say like a bet basically on the currency. And if the currency moves in your favor, you get money back. If it goes against you, you have to pay out money.